welcome back to our last session. We are super excited for this session. We've been looking forward to it. Before I jump into it though, I really just want to do a quick spotlight to our corporate partners that have been with us all day today. I hope, and I'm sure you, like me, we've talked a lot today about change and different things that we should be doing and can be doing, and technology and all of those types of things. And as members, we would just highly encourage all of our members to look at our partners as folks who have solutions to a lot of these issues that we have. And so particularly to our newer directors that are out there, you're going to get to know our partners more and more. They play a significant role in helping us do the things that we do, but also, again, looking at them as solutions to the problems that we have. And I just don't think you can go wrong. They're invested just like us into being successful and changing corrections for the better. Okay, that said, here's one of the things I'm going to ask each of you to do. In the top right part of your screen where it says view, I'm going to ask that you click on that and then choose the speaker mode. With this presentation, it's going to look best in speaker mode on your computer. So top right of your screen, click view, and then click speaker mode. And I think you'll see why that's smart here in just a second. Okay, it's my honor to introduce just not only a mentor of mine, but a very dear friend, Scott Simple. Scott is the associate from Connecticut. He has got countless years of correctional experience in Connecticut. He worked his way up the ranks, but I could literally spend the next 30 minutes talking about all the wonderful and amazing things he's done in corrections. But to know Scott, then you should know that I'm going to say this. He's just one of the most lovable people that you're going to meet. He's just someone that you instantly meet him, you instantly love him. And I'm just so grateful to have him part of this association as an associate. And Scott is who brought Dwayne to us. And so it just makes sense for us to turn the time over to Scott and have him introduce Dwayne in this next session. Scott, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, and thank you very much, Kevin, and thank you to the CLA crew. A special shout out to Jill Stewart, who was very patient with us in our pitch to bring Dwayne to you today. And also a shout out to the executive board and President Preside. I guess I'm going to begin with a quick story. I met Dwayne in interactions with Yale University, where Dwayne was a law student at the time, and he was working on a project that we were collaborating on to evaluate some things that we were doing in Connecticut. And I remember that day because for some reason I was paying attention to Dwayne of all the people in the room, because I had the sense that he was sizing me up because I was talking about vision and perspective of what corrections should look like. I talked about dignity and humanity, and I talked about the programs that we were doing. And then I later learned that Dwayne's background, he was just as much an expert about corrections as I was, as someone who was just as involved in the state of Virginia as a youth and as a young person, and went on a journey of redemption that is, I call it redemption on steroids, in terms of what he has accomplished in his life as a writer, as someone who has produced books and published books. Further on, Dwayne had contacted me, and I think Tony Annucci and John Wetzel, if he's on the call, will remember Dwayne when we had him as our speaker at the Northeast regional meeting. I think you were there as well, Kevin. Dwayne had contacted me to serve as an advisor on this project called the Millions Book Project, which is funded by the Mellon Foundation. And during the course of that discussion, I said, I need to get you in front of CLA, because the benefit of this work, there's a direct link for some collaboration in terms of the Freedom Libraries that are funded to be incorporated into 1,000 correctional facilities. And I don't want to take Dwayne's thunder away, because I think you really will appreciate it. But I hope that my former colleagues and the members of CLA will be excited to join the Million Books Project and allow for this opportunity, which is founded by Dwayne, to happen in your jurisdiction. So with that being said, it's my privilege to introduce to you Dwayne Betts.
Commissioner Simple, thank you. It's an honor, pleasure to be here. Thank you, Kevin Kemp, Jill Stewart, and team, to the executive committee. Thank everybody for listening. I realize that these kind of events are in some ways challenging. I realize that I've been on 700 Zooms in the past week, so I'm sure you have as well. And so I hope that this is a little bit different. I always start thinking about my own experience in prison, and it strikes me that usually I ask people, what do you think about when you hear the word prison? People will tell me violence. They'll tell me bars. They'll tell me something about their loved ones and driving miles and miles and miles to get to a prison that's far away from home. Never do people say what I say. When I think about the word prison, I think about books. You see, when I was in prison, there was no way for me to access something like this. I couldn't just reach out and grab what I wanted to read. And to fully make you understand, I got to take you back to the summer of 1998 when my world was like this. I was 17 years old, should have been preparing for my high school graduation, should have been thinking about prom or something. But I'd been convicted of carjacking and I was in a prison in Virginia and in solitary confinement. And back then, like books were contraband. I was trying to learn how to bid, so I was listening to everything I heard folks saying on the doors. And I would hear every once in a while somebody shout, "Yo, send me a book." At first, I thought they were friends, but then you would hear somebody shout, "What sale?" And then you would hear swish, swish. It'd be a book sliding across the concrete from one cell to another, from one stranger to another. I was 17. I had been told not to take anything from anybody else in prison, just a rule. But I needed something to read. And so I said, "Send me a book." And it came. And when it clanked in my hands, it was this book right here, Dudley Randall's The Black Poets. And you got to understand, if you're me, this is the last thing you expect. I wanted a novel. I wanted adventure. I could have even dug a romance novel at the time. I mean, I was 17 years old in prison, staring at 9 more years in a series of cells, and I did not want to read a poem. But I read it, and I got introduced to Sterling Brown, Gwendolyn Brooks, Lucille Clifton, and I'm flipping through the pages, and it's crazy because it got to the point that to discover a poet meant to discover a name. And I stopped on this cat named Etheridge because I didn't know anybody whose mama had named him Etheridge. And I stopped and I'm looking at Etheridge Knight's poems, and he is writing about prison. The poem that made my heart stop is called For Freckle-Faced Gerald, a poem about a 16-year-old kid that started 16 years, hadn't even done a good job on his voice. Knight writes about this kid that ended up in prison as a teenager and who doesn't survive the way I wanted to survive. The kid ends up getting assaulted, and the poem ends up being a recounting of a tragedy. But it was wild because the poem didn't make me afraid. The poem made me aware that one, I might be able to write a poem, and two, I might be able to confront everything I feared. Later, I found out that Knight wasn't just writing out of his imagination, that he had spent time in prison. And then I understood that under all of his poems, it was this song being sung. Name a song that tells a man what to expect after prison. Explains Occam's razor. You're still a suspect after prison. And it's wild because 20 years later, I wrote my own book. And if you read the dedication, you'll see me saying this is for Roger Fentress, Terrell Kelly, Christopher Tunstall, and Anthony Wynn. These is dudes that I did time with in prison. And I was like excited to have a hardback book. Then it hit me. Most prisons ain't allowing us to get in. And so I said, let me get with some folks and raise some money and produce a freedom edition of Felon. People asked me why I called my book Felon, and I told them because I wasn't afraid of my past. I wanted to focus on the things in my past that would give me a future. And paperback book, if you flip the pages, it literally sounds like wings. And I did this, and the intention was to throw thousands and thousands and thousands of these copies under cell doors. Because the thing was like hoping that somebody would pick it up and hear under my poems this question. Name a song that tells a man what to expect after prison. Is this Occam's razor? Am I still a felon after prison? In fact, man, I'm gonna read y'all one of these. Blood history. The things that abandon you get remembered different. Nah, wait. I don't even know if y'all know this, but I'm gonna let y'all in on a secret. I was in prison. I was in a cell once with my man Juvie, and we was in one of those prisons that didn't have hot water, didn't have microwaves. And so if we wanted to make a cup of coffee or some oodles and noodles, we had to build us a stove. We roll the toilet paper up like this, and we cuff it at the bottom. We sit it on the toilet, set it on fire, and the flame would shoot up straight from the center. We hold our soda can over the flame, and by the time the flame was gone, the water was boiled. I didn't know that when I first came inside, so I almost suffocated myself by setting paper, just like newspaper stuff, on fire in the sink. That was a bad decision. Somebody told me how to make this, though. And one day I'm in the cell and I make this, and I burn 5 years worth of my father's letters. And Juvie's on the bunk watching me in silence. Blood history. The things that abandon you get remembered different. As precise as the English language can be, with words like penultimate and perseverate, there is not an exact combination of sounds that describe only that leaving. Once, drinking and smoking with buddies, a friend asked if I longed for a father. Had he said wanted, I would have dismissed him in a way that youngins dismiss it all. Shrug, sarcasm, a sharp jab to the stomach, laughter. But he said longing, and in a different place, I might have wept. Said once, my father lived with us and then he didn't. And it fucked me up so bad that I didn't think about his leaving until I held my firstborn in my arms and only now speak on it. A man who drank Wild Irish Rose and whiskey like water once told me and some friends that there is no word for father where he comes from. Not like we know it. There, the word father is the same as the word for listen. The blunts we passed around let us abandon our tongues. Not that much, though. But what if the old head knew something? And if you have no father, you can't hear straight. Years later, my father says to me, boy, why your firstborn ain't got our name? As if he ain't know. Some things turn your life into a prayer the gods will certainly answer. But I came home on March 4th, 2005. And I would tell my folks, I came home on March 4th. My uncle be like, we know we was there. I was like, nah, I came home on March 4th. March 4th is the only date that is also a command. I came home on March 4th. And they said, poetry is going to your head. Slow down. But I imagined that that was going to be the last time I graced a prison ever. I was a fool in a way, right? Because I came into prison as a youngin' with dudes who changed their names because they wanted to be somebody more than the crimes that got them in cells. So I knew cats named Divine. I knew cats named Malik, Wisdom, Mathematics, Tree. My man Chris became Juvie. Roger became Fats. Anthony became Ab. Terrell became Star. I even named myself. I told him to call me Shahid because it meant the witness. What kind of fool am I? I named myself the witness and imagined that I would leave prison and forget. But it's wild because all these years later, as I think about what we carry, I think that there is an assumption that the only thing you could get in prison is heartache and suffering. I came home committed to telling nobody that I had served time. And then I told one person, then I told another, then I told a professor. And when I told the professor, I knew I had ruined my life. He said, "Young man, stay after class." I stayed. And he told me that he had did 2 years at jail when he was 19 and that he had gone on to get a PhD from Oxford. And he said, I might be able to do some good in the world if I wasn't afraid to talk about where I've been. And the thing is, like talking to this group, and I'm about to go to the slides, but I want to say something. It's so much that I got out of prison that was meaningful. And part of the theory of it all, part of the understanding that many people have is to think that I got it all on my own. And they forget that I got it from people beside me, people who gave me books when I needed it. But they also forget I had this job. I'm a lawyer now. But a job that made me a lawyer was I was a law clerk at Augusta Correctional Center. And it was this hard-nosed cat that worked on the door. He read books and he felt like he couldn't fraternize with prisoners, right? But I saw that he was always reading a different book and he would always cover the book so you couldn't see the title. But I could tell it was a different book because the page count had changed. You know, it'd be a 300-page book and a 200-page book. And I could just tell. And I would mess with him all the time. I see you read. I say, "You read? What you read?" And he would never tell me. I was like 22. They didn't want young people working in the law library because we were the only folks that had access to the computer. And they were afraid that we might print gambling tickets. But because me and this guy just had a banter about books, when I applied for the job, and most folks thought I wouldn't get it, because again, I was 22, I'd been in some trouble, been in a hole a few times, he made sure I got the job. And so I think part of the Million Book Project is reinforcing this idea that there's a commonality in books that allow us to connect when sometimes it wouldn't be a connection. And so I'm gonna show y'all a few slides. Now I gave you like 10 minutes of my solo show. The solo show recounts some things from my life, but it also counts, it sort of tracks from prison to becoming a lawyer. And the idea, of course, would be to do this in prisons across the country. And I just wanted y'all to get a peep of it so that you could hear what was going on. But I'm gonna run through these slides and then I'm gonna make sure to acknowledge some of our partners, some of whom are here now, including Commissioner Jividan, who has actually seen more of this show, though not the whole thing. So just to run through the slides right quick and then I open it up to Commissioner Jividan and then take some questions before we get out of here. The Million Book Project was created by me. The idea really is, like I said, this person slid a book under my cell and profoundly changed my life. And what would it be to make books accessible to large swaths of the prison population? And what would it be to make a particular set of books accessible to folks inside? This is sort of our beautiful banner from the website. Freedom begins with a book. I deeply believe that my whole life has been rooted in the ways in which I learned to free myself from reading books. You could go to our website at millionbookproject.org and read more about the project. Um, but two things that we just want to emphasize about the project is like reading is a quintessential dignity affirming habit that we do to strengthen our sense of self and discover our authentic interests. A shared library promises to build community among and between incarcerated readers, correctional staff, and loved ones back at home. This is not a project that's just for people who are incarcerated. You know, I recognize that when you want to build community, you want to build it amongst and between everybody that's in the institution. And so what we want to do is saturate prisons with these freedom libraries so that I recognize that sometimes I was afraid to go to the library. So I stayed in the housing unit and there were no books there. It was a lot of other people who were afraid to go to the library or who couldn't go to the library because they had a job that always competed with the times in which you would be sent to the library. So we plan on bringing these freedom libraries and placing them in multiple housing units on a prison, with an authentically created bookshelf that adds a different kind of vitality to the space, but then also have one of these that's set up and dedicated for the correctional staff. And this is an idea about what this would look like, the concepts. We're thinking about a modular design that's built by our partners at Mass Design. We've, of course, been consulting with Commissioner Simple. We've been consulting with former Commissioner of North Dakota, Leanne Birch. And the idea is really to make this functional and existing space and bring some vibrancy to the prison location. So this is an idea of what it would look like in the space. And of course, it's not like built to scale here, but you can see that the shelves actually will be the height wouldn't like obstruct views or anything like that. And we also been playing around with the material and thinking about making it a bit translucent so that you can see the books from both sides, and that what is actually centered is the book as an object. And then finally, this is another depiction of it. I mean, you think about it. I spent 9 years in prison and really never saw a bookshelf. And bookshelves have become central, and books have become central to my life. So we want to bring that to folks. Um, and then finally, the greatest part about this, right, is that we need your help. And we need your help in a few ways. First, we have been working with corrections across the country to make this happen. Brandy Bonifay, who's the head librarian in California, has been on our curatorial committee. We've been working with great librarians in Minnesota and California. We've been working with a team in Texas. We're also working with some folks in Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and I'm probably missing some people. Oh, definitely missing West Virginia, and Commissioner Jividen will say something right now. And I should say the part of the project that we've been doing is we've been sending um, 20, 30, 40 copies of particular books because COVID is a scourge. And we wanted to have a presence in prison right now because we know people are suffering. People can't get to the libraries right now. So we've been really consistently on a monthly basis sending in books. We've already sent in 6,000. And it's been a great project and a great process. And finally, we've been talking to people on the security side too about the bookshelves because we're developing this in concert with people who understand what's necessary on the ground. And so we're looking for folks to partner with on that front. The idea would be to get 5 to 10 partner states and roll this out in August and then keep going it from there. And the one thing I will say as I stop sharing the screen and pass the mic to Commissioner Jividen is the best part about this project is it's fully funded. I think when somebody sent that book to me, it was a gift. I didn't have to pay for it. And our idea is to send all of these books in as gifts that people don't have to pay for. It's funded by a $5 million grant from the Mellon Foundation. In the past few weeks, we've got thousands and thousands of dollars. This is an opportunity, I think, for people to actually show up and show that they want to be a partner and helping to transform people's lives in a way that, in best case scenarios, you guys are already doing. So I'm gonna pass to Commissioner Jividen if she's here, and then we try to take some questions.
Good. Thank you, Dwayne. It's good to see you. Thank you, everybody, for your interest in this project. I'm only going to take a second. I have with me, I'm coming to you from Lakin Correctional Center. It's our women's facility. We have the Million Book Project going strong here. I have with me our Director of Religious Services, CJ Ryder. He's right here off camera. And also the Deputy Superintendent from Lakin, who've been instrumental in getting this project moving. But I think the most important person at our table today is Miss Patricia Aldridge, who is an inmate worker in the library and who is an enthusiastic participant in this project, has read the books, is looking forward to the next one, brought them with her today. And I thought to follow up on what Dwayne has said about the impact on him as an incarcerated individual, and that connection, all of which he says is so inspiring. Every time I listen to him, I'm inspired again. But I thought if we could let Miss Aldridge talk for a while, and then all of us are available for any questions now and in the future. But we are 100% behind this project. We started out in a few facilities. We're hoping to expand it to all of our facilities bit by bit. So are you comfortable?
Yes, I'm fine. I work in our library here at Lakin. I've worked in the library off and on for over the past 10 years. I too have been a law clerk, so I can relate. Um, with having the books, we put them out yesterday and did a display. And we've already had people in today that came in and checked the books out. And we posted your letter that was sent to the facility along with our display. And the ladies have taken the time to read it, um, feel very touched by it, and encouraged by it. And they're looking forward to receiving more books for them to check out as well. Um, the books have also been distributed amongst our housing units through our unit teams. So the ladies are getting them that way as well. So know that this program is good. It is getting distributed and touching a lot of people's hearts and minds. And I think their minds is the main thing, because if you let your mind just sit idle, it's like the devil's playground, if you will. And we do have a lot of avid readers here at Lakin. And some are, they get to where they only want to read one particular genre, but then sometimes most of them are open to, you can share something with them and say, here, won't you try this one? And so that's what we did today. And so quite a few of the ladies, like I said, checked out your books today. And so I think it's going to be a really wonderful thing here for Lakin.
Yeah, and I should say that we're doing a few things that we think is really important. So it's a couple of questions that I saw in the chat. One was, how can agencies express interest? And you can email us at millionbookproject@yale.edu. And Tess Wheelwright is on this call too, and she could be reached at tess.wheelwright@yale.edu. And I could be reached at reginald.betts@yale.edu. But really, it's as simply as it's as simple as sending an email. And the other piece that I'll say that we find really important is we said it's important to make sure that the staff has access to the libraries for them. So it will be one at each institution when we come to. We will, of course, talk to the people on the ground and find out what is the best location. But it'll be one placed in a location that's just for the staff. So if it's a staff dining hall, if it's just a front entry room that the staff generally accesses. I mean, this is the furniture. Mass designers, they're really brilliant architects, so it's something that will liven up the space as well as carry these books. And so we will definitely put it in a central location that would be dedicated for the staff in the same way that it'll have some spots that's dedicated for the people inside. And finally, we also recognize that people tend to read the books that they love. And so we developed a podcast as well. And we've been making that podcast available. I remember when I was in, you catch that movie on Saturday, and it'd come on at like 7, and it'd come on at 10, and it'd come on at 5. And it was that dedicated station. And so we've been sort of trying to respect and honor that by making the podcast that you could download right now on Apple. We create a version of it that has the closed captioning, and it's not a video, so it'd be like the author's face, and then it'd be closed caption, and you would hear the whole podcast, and you could read it as well for people who might be hearing impaired. But it's a wonderful way to get introduced to a book because the author reads for about 10 minutes, and then you hear me and the author and my co-host in the exchange about the book, and it's just a way to look. I've been in college for a long time, maybe too long, but one of the things that happens at every university I've been to is that writers come in to talk to the students and read to the students. And I've been in prisons all across this country. And sadly, in most prisons, I have been the first writer to enter the prison. And we do want to change that because we want to create different spaces where people recognize that it's possible to go from being a prisoner to being an attorney or to being a writer. I know Scott gave me this. He was the first person like sort of publicly acknowledged me as a licensed attorney. And what was like brilliant about this is the guys at Cheshire made it. And so when I show people this, it's not really me trying to emphasize that I'm an attorney. It's me trying to say that my whole life has been intertwined with what it means to survive prison, to become something after prison, but also to connect back with people who are serving time in prison. And so when we think about the construction of this, we've even been talking with people on the ground about what it looks like to partner with the institution so that the men inside can actually have a hand in building these shelves. Because again, we think reading is dignity affirming, but we also think having a hand in what your future looks like and then what your presence look like is also dignity affirming. Um, so feel free to throw questions in the chat, and I will field them as I can. I think one question that has come up is how do we choose the books? And it's wild because a bookshelf is a idiosyncratic thing. It's filled with the books that you saw yourself that you wanted to read. It's filled with the books that were given to you as gifts, and it's also filled with the books that you understood that you were kind of expected to read because of your profession or because of your area of interest. And so I've consulted with people all across this country we have consulted with people all across this country about what are the books people really love. And the idea is that the collection is built out of those books. You have your Faulkner, you have Shakespeare, you have John Edgar Wideman, you have Charles Dickens, and we think ultimately that the collection can grow with readers. So you have things on the early, and you have some YA books, but you also have Crime and Punishment, and the idea is that we're creating not just one world with this collection of 500 books, but really thousands of worlds and thousands of opportunities to explore what is possible while you're inside and what's possible when you leave.
Dwayne, that was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. It was advertised to us that it was going to be great, and it surpassed even that expectation. It was awesome. Let me just throw it out there again. Any questions? Any comments? I mean, even if it's just like, "Hey, that was awesome," put it in that chat room. Let Dwayne read it and see it, because from my vantage point, as I looked out across all of your faces, like everyone was glued to their screen, and as well as I. And so really, really great job, Dwayne. Scott, can I kind of start with you and then end with you on this session? Can I kick it over to you for any final comments about Dwayne and this great project?
Yeah, I just want everyone to know that, and it really was an honor for me to be an advisor to Dwayne, and I know I speak for Leanne Birch as well as people who have been in the position. I really would encourage everyone to take advantage of this. And when Dwayne said it's funded, it's well funded. So the potential to put these freedom libraries in 1,000 housing units throughout the country is just the beginning phase of this. So, I mean, the goal is to do it anywhere and everywhere that we can. The underlying issue that may come up for you from an operational perspective is, what about publication review and all that? And I want you to know that we've had those discussions, and there's versatility in how this can be done to accommodate your needs or concerns. Dwayne may want to speak to that a little bit more, but I'll shut up now because I see there's questions coming in the chat.
Yeah, I'll definitely say in terms of the publication review committee, I mean, I've recognized the challenges of prison administrators thinking about what books are and what books should come in. And so we read these books, we've sort of vetted these books. We have on our staff some people like Dan Pachoke, who worked in Washington and is like an expert and has served as an expert witness on both sides around publication review issues. Again, we work closely with Brandy Bonifay. We work closely with libraries in all of the states that we've already partnered in, including Minnesota. And so we think about these issues and we take the questions seriously. And the idea is this, that we've sort of just developed an open and honest process so that people can know what the books are. But I think it hits at a deeper point, right? Because it's like, how do people know what these books are? So we're also building what you call a catalog that describes the book, where I'm writing an essay that would describe the project and say what it is. But then we'll have blurbs on most of the books that describe the books and why they matter. Because I think the truth is, my book, I see Commissioner Clark, and I shouldn't tell the story, but my book got banned in Virginia once, my memoir. But it got banned because I was foolish. I didn't think my book would make it to prison. And I had a chapter called How to Make a Knife in Prison. But the chapter wasn't about making a knife in prison. I just wanted to make a chapter that jumped and it had some excitement. The chapter was actually about what it means to confront the possibility of violence and turn away from it. like what it means to stay safe while not engaging with some of the worst things that's going on around you. And so I understood why they banned it, because my homeboy bought 12 copies because the first chapter was 30 minutes, how 30 seconds changed my life. And so he was trying to start a book club to engage with people to think about how 30 seconds or 30 minutes might have changed their lives profoundly. But the staff looked and they saw How to Make a Knife in Prison, and they was like, this is absurd. No, you can't have this. But we had a series of conversations, and then we mailed a copy of the book in, and it got reviewed, and they gave all of the copies in, and then I sent like 200-300 copies of Felon in. So we take it seriously. I've been in prison. We don't want to bring anything into an institution that would jeopardize somebody's safety. And that is why when I say we're looking for partners to work, some partners who are actually on these review committees, because we want to make our job easier and we want to make their job easier. But these books are the books that I studied to get a college education. These books are classics that we've read for years and years and years. And I think these books are all important and meaningful. But more importantly, we have flexibility. So it's 500 books, but we'll have a list of 600, because there may be a book that you say, yeah, but we don't want that one in here. And I'll say, I get it. Here's another 100 books. Let's replace it with something that's here. So we have flexibility, but we want to create a meaningful partnership so that you understand what's coming in and why, and so that people on the inside will know what's coming in and know why they should read some of these books.
Awesome. Dwayne, again, thank you so much for taking the time to finish our first day of our winter conference like you did. The energy was fantastic. It was emotional and inspiring. I know it was enjoyed by everyone that watched it. So thank you so much. Commissioner Jividen, thank you so much for calling in. I love that you're sitting in the middle of a prison right now, and appreciate your leadership and on this issue as well. And then Scott, of course, again, thank you so much for bringing Dwayne to us. And we just, he just did a great job. And I think there's a lot of interest there. So with that in mind, if you didn't get a chance to look at how you can express interest or want more information, just simply shoot any one of us at the CLA team an email of your interest. And I promise we will get it over to Dwayne ASAP. So really, really good stuff.